Admiral Radio takes you now to CBS Washington. Don Pryor reporting.
Congress goes back to work tomorrow. You can't escape the feeling that it's going to be a tremendously important session. Certainly it will be racked with controversy because all the pent-up wartime pressures of the nation will be focused on Capitol Hill. Here are some of the issues that are waiting to be solved. Taxes. A bill providing a little over $2 billion, one-fifth as much as the Treasury asked for, is awaiting action in the Senate. Subsidies. By February 17th, there will have to be a showdown on the whole question of using subsidies to hold down the prices of food. The argument was postponed a bit by stopgap legislation adopted just before Congress went home for the holidays. Wages. The Senate has passed and the House is all ready to act on legislation which will give the non-operating railroad employees an arbitrary 8 cents an hour increase in wages. And then there's the red-hot question of labor policy in general. The recent steel strike and the threatened railroad strike are certain to lead to demands for more stringent labor legislation. And there will also have to be strong movement in favor of national service legislation, which in effect would be a labor draft. Last night, Major General Hershey of Selective Service announced that occupational deferments for men under 22, whether they're fathers or not, will be curtailed sharply after the 1st of next month. War Mobilization Director Burns has announced the adoption of a uniform clause for war contracts to cover their termination. It's the first big step of the new Baruch organization in preparing for demobilization when the war is over. President Roosevelt's annual message is expected to go to Capitol Hill day after tomorrow, but we still don't know whether the president will deliver it in person. That's up to his personal physician, Rear Admiral McIntyre. I return you to Admiral Radio in New York.
More news in just a moment, but first here is Warren Sweeney with a word from Admiral Radio.
Here in America, when a man's work is done, he can sit leisurely by his radio, perhaps an Admiral radio, and listen with complete enjoyment to his favorite program. But not so with the oppressed peoples of Europe, with Pierre the Frenchman, for example, who lives under the heel of the Nazi boot. Pierre must wait for darkness. In the dead of night, he steals down into the cellar, through the secret door, and there he is, underground. That's where his radio is. There, underground, at the risk of his life, he gets information which tells him when the long-awaited invasion is coming, and how to aid by destroying enemy installations, rails, bridges, factories. Through radio, underground, the oppressed learn the truth, learn of the coming invasion that will crush the heart of the enemy. To coordinate invasion from the sea, on land, in the air, and yes, even underground, it takes radio. Admiral Radio is proud to be part of the coming invasion, just as Admiral was proud in pre-war days of its leadership as the world's largest manufacturer of radio phonograph combinations with automatic record changers. The entire production facilities of Admiral's 2 great plants are devoted to victory. But Admiral gives you this assurance: when victory is ours, the skill and precision now going into weapons of war will be found in your new and better Admiral, America's Smart Set. Now, here once again is Doug Edwards.
Massive Russian spearheads are pushing steadily forward today against retreating German troops in the southwestern Ukraine and in Old Poland. Red armies have smashed to within striking distance of 3 German escape railroads. Pushing on rapidly from captured Ilyinsky, 40 miles east of Zhemarinka, one of General Vatutin's spearheads has brought the Odessa to Warsaw Railroad under attack. The cutting of this vital line of communication would force the Germans in the south to depend on secondary long-way-around railroads through Romania. Another Red Army group is less than 11 miles northeast of the junction town of Miranovka on the Belayat-Surkov to Smelia Railroad. And in addition, Vatutin's advance units have practically made the east-west railway from Smelia to the Odessa to Warsaw line useless. Red Army troops are only 11 miles north of this line, which is the main German escape route across the southern Ukraine. Meanwhile, General Konev is developing his drive from captured Kirovograd. He's smashing at the rear of the German forces in the Dnieper Bend and increasing the threat to Krivoy Rog and Nikopol, the iron, coal, and manganese centers in the southeast. Red Army observers report that roads in the captured Kirovograd area are covered with smashed enemy guns, lorries, and crippled automobiles. To the northwest, Soviet columns in Old Poland are reported 5 miles east of the town of Sarny, capture of which would cut a 4th vital rail line which links the German armies to the north and south. American and British troops in the Allied Fifth Army in Italy have beaten off German counterattacks and reached a point within 4 miles of Cassino, the important town which guards the road to Rome. Reports from the front say terrific mountain battles are now underway, battles unlike anything seen in this war since the Greeks fought Italians in Albania 2 years ago. American troops fighting with bayonets and hand grenades pushed the Germans out of their strong positions in the village of Justo, and they've now driven into the heights closer to Cassino. Allied planes continue to hammer the continent. For this news and an interview with one of our fighting men, Admiral Radio takes you to CBS London, Larry LeSueur reporting.
In the past few months, this great aircraft carrier called Britain has become a concentration point for the fighting men of the United Nations. Colonel Cummings, which do you consider the toughest theater of war, the Atlantic or the Pacific?
Well, as an airman, there's not much doubt that the war is tougher here in Europe than it was out in the Pacific. The German planes are just as good, if not better, than the old Jap Zero, and I think the German pilot is more resolute. After you've been strafed and bombed and seen your friends die alongside you, war becomes very personal. I left a lot of good friends back there.
Yes, I guess the war is more impersonal for our boys here in Europe. Most of them have never seen a German. They've never seen the cities their bombs destroy. Have you ever been in Europe yourself, Colonel Cummings?
No, I never have. I don't think it'll be long now. Germans almost in the same position as we were in the Pacific 2 years ago. They're on the defensive.
Yep, I guess they are, and I hope they'll keep them on the defensive for a long, long time. Thank you very much, Colonel Cummings. We return you now to CBS, New York.
All right, to make matters easier, I guess we're just going to have everybody introduce themselves. Name, how long you've been with the 9th, and hometown. Let's start with
Kuczynski, Thomas David. Been with the 9th since 2000. Hometown, Hammond, Indiana. The most beautiful town in the world.
Sorry.